Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. My name is Chris Alaimo.
And I'm Ben Gassaway. Together, we are the Amateur Investors.
This podcast is our open source journal of everything we learn about investing and wealth management.
We're here to explore the key concepts, market dynamics, and investing strategies that will assist you on the path toward financial independence and financial literacy. Our mission is to build us up from amateurs to experts.
All suggestions are our own, and we recommend that you do your own research before taking any investment advice. See you in this week's episode. We hope you enjoy it. All right. Hey, everyone. How's it going? Welcome back to this episode of the Amateur Investors. For this episode, we got a special one for you. We've got the founders of Arke Aeronautics. So we've got Brandon, Jonathan, and Sherman should be hopping on shortly. Brandon's got a hard stop, so we're going to try and get this all in without him hopping off on us. But there'll be people jumping in and out on this. So if you hear different voices on the podcast, no, we're adding people and subtracting people. So basically for this episode, they come on and they started Arke Aeronautics, not to be confused with Ark Invest. I know Kathy Wood, we've talked about her on this podcast before, but
it might be a holding of Kathy's in a few years,
eventually.
So we'll see.
A life-saving situational intelligence platform for first responders. The company was built from the ground up in 2017 while they were still an undergraduate engineering program at my alma mater of Rowan University. Brandon accepted in the first cohort of the University Innovation Fellowship Program, in which a selected group of students exchange ideas around the world and thought leaders of Silicon Valley to help guide the university students around human-centered design. Brandon applied for the fellowship training to create Studio 231, a makerspace housed in the business hall of Rowan University that gives students of all majors the safe and free access to tools and supplies to take their entrepreneurial ideas from 0 to 1. Upon graduating from engineering in 2018, he decided to continue his education and start his MBA and completed that in 2020 while continuing to build Arke Aeronautics. So it's a pretty big achievement. Thank you guys, Brandon, Jonathan, and I know I just see Sherman hopping on now for coming on the show. It's a pleasure to have you guys here.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'll get right into it. Brandon, Jonathan, and Sherman, what decided to, take me back to the beginning? What made you guys to start Arke Aeronautics, and how did we get to where we are now?
Yeah, thanks. So solving this problem is extremely personal to all of us. 2 years ago, I was driving home on a rainy night when I watched a white Ford pickup truck in front of me lose control on the highway at high speed. It rolled over 3 times and it ended up trapping the driver inside. So I was the only one near the car that had seen it, and I dialed 911 from the side of the highway, and I probably said something like, Route 55, exit 50A, there's a white Ford pickup truck overturned, the driver's trapped inside. So I gave him location, I gave him what happened, and this is urgent, the driver's trapped. And I waited for what seemed like an hour. It was probably around 12 minutes before the first truck actually arrived on scene, only to watch the fire rescue, paramedics, and police go blaring full speed right past us, completely unaware of where we actually were. So that night, I realized that despite first responders' best efforts, sometimes they just don't have the information that they need to get to you in time. So I'm left wondering, what if the vehicle was on fire? And in this business, seconds can mean the difference between life and death, and that's where Arke can help. So first responders today primarily communicate over radio, and our software is using machine learning and artificial intelligence to combine over 6 information streams and 30 data types into a real-time mobile dashboard that's customized for each responder based on their profile. And we call this process data fusion. So basically, we're taking the most important information for first responders and we're putting it on their personal devices, putting them on scene digitally before they arrive.
Yeah. So the next step would be, okay, can we make a business out of this? So fast forward to my second semester in graduate school. So I'm working on my MBA, and I was attending, multiple different business school clubs at Rowan. And I happened to walk into one. I think it was called the CEO Club, and I ran into Brandon there. We were introduced through a mutual friend. So Antonia, if you're watching, shout out to you. So she introduced me and Brandon. She said, hey, Brandon's looking for a business person. I know he doesn't have his MBA yet, and he needs to help to write out the business plan. So when we attend this business plan competition, we'll have something solid. So it kind of just went from there. At that point, we also knew we needed something that was within the realm of, like the first response. So we're looking for someone also as well that had, first response experience, and that's where Sherman came in.
That's really exciting. I feel like coming into college, one, it's already hard enough to graduate. I can speak to that for myself. But building a business in parallel, I think that's incredible. I'd love to hear what that process looked like, and a piggyback on that would be maybe where is the business today compared to maybe that day zero business plan from the CEO Club. I'd love to hear like maybe something that was like an aha moment where, something you originally thought. I think, thoughts evolve over time. I'd love to hear maybe that transition as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. So the really awesome feeling that we have right now, and one of the things that's most exciting about Arc is 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, we started down this journey of reimagining public safety through technology. And today, our technology is being used by real life first responders, actually right in town at Glassboro Fire Department. So we were able to partner with them over the past 2 years, and that ultimately culminated in being able to test our technology at their department. And we're currently partnering with other local South Jersey departments, one most notably at a moderately sized international airport in South Jersey. So we're really excited for those projects, and I think, I don't want to speak for Sherman and John, but I'm pretty sure we're all on the same page that this has been the most exciting time for us, is to actually see our technology being realized in the real world. Obviously, the next step is how do we go from our first 3 customers to our first 30 customers, and that's kind of really the stage that we're at right now.
That's awesome. I guess maybe I'd love to hear what the reactions were initially from the departments and the various groups there, because I feel like when you have a very process oriented, structure that relies or that really deals with people's life and death situations that you saw, I'm sure there's probably a little bit of hesitancy to change things, but just the fact of the product that you described, human communication by nature is inefficient and and it takes interpretation. So building in technology seems inevitable. But I'd love to hear maybe what the reactions were to the concept.
Well, and I'll let Sherman jump in here if he's able, but I am not a firefighter. Sherman is. And when we were starting this company, one of the things that we prepared for, actually put on our competition slide, is the phrase, "This is how we've always done it." Right? We thought that was going to be one of our biggest competitors. And surprisingly enough, we actually just spent over 4 hours at a large fire department, 7-station fire department in on the East Coast in South Jersey. And we met with their chief and their battalion chief. And every problem that we identified, they mentioned that this is something that they deal with every day. And every solution that we mentioned, value proposition of the Arc platform, they are all about it. They recognize the value that things like unmanned aviation systems or drones, as the public would call it, can do for the fire service. So Sherman, I don't know if you want to jump in there with anything else, but I think we're seeing a lot of adoption from fire departments and quite frankly the entire public safety community.
Yeah, a lot of fire departments are excited to see technology being custom catered specifically to the fire service. So we're having an easier time getting people to adopt new technology than we expected.
That's fantastic. I feel like it's always good to prepare for the worst case situation, but when it works out, that's awesome. And tying it back to, and I'll let you go, Chris, for sure. But just tying it back to sort of investing from the amateur investor perspective, looking at a business prospect or investing in a stock, the best companies are identifying a problem and providing a real solution to that, not just making a flashy sort of business case. You really need to be mindful of that, is like, what is the true problem that this business is solving? And you guys hit the nail on the head where you're talking to the real end customers and you're answering every box. I mean, that's what you look for in a good business. So congrats to you guys for that.
Thank you. Yeah. And just remember, we first came up with this concept in 2017 when Sherman and I were in undergrad and John was just finishing his MBA. And since then, I mean, our perspective on how to run a business and how to raise a startup from literally a concept has grown. One of the biggest lessons that Sherman and I have learned, especially since we're focused on the sales side, is talk to your customer. Get out there and pick up the phone and call. Over the past year, we've reached out to over 100 departments, from Corpus Christi, Texas to Anchorage, Alaska, and every department you talk to, they're going to give you a different perspective. So that helps us hone our model, hone our thesis. But at the end of the day, it's exciting to hear every department we talk to has many different challenges, but you can most of the time identify 5 core challenges that we've worked out in our that our technology addresses.
Definitely.
Yeah. That's awesome. I know Ben and I, our day job, we work for a company called Covanta, which is a waste to energy company, and we're engineers, or at least by trade. And a lot of times when you're dealing with the operators at the facilities, a lot of times, they're considered your customer. When I'm trying to help them, the last thing I want to do is engineer something that makes their job more difficult. So at the end of the day, we're employees and we work together, we're peers. A lot of times they have a lot more experience than I. You kind of want to work in unison with them to make their life easier, better, faster, cheaper, and safer. And I know that you guys kind of do that here. I think it's awesome too that you guys have a group of 3. I don't know if you have anyone else that works for you, but it's kind of seems that you guys each have your own discipline, but that's able to cover all your bases. I know it's probably great having Sherman, who is a firefighter, and part of the department. He can speak the lingo probably better than Brandon and Jonathan can on any given day, and that's nothing to take away from you guys. He just understands the problems that they see day in and day out.
Absolutely, and it's been great to lean on Sherman and his expertise and his network, quite frankly.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I know Ben and I are big proponents of Warren Buffett. He's one of the greatest investors of all time, and has a proven track record over time. One of his favorite quotes, for me at least, or one that always stands out, is he always talks about the best investment you can make is in yourself. So kind of contrary to where he made all his money, or at least a lot of people think made a lot of his money, he claims that he invested himself when he was young, starting up businesses, doing different things, moving money around and being really a business leader, which made him a better investor. And then being a better investor made him a better business leader. But for you guys, a lot of you went to get your MBAs and stuff. What made you guys go to get your MBAs? Not to take anything away from that. I think it's awesome that you guys did that. But what made you guys do MBAs or further your education instead of doubling down on ARC when you guys were starting off?
Yeah, well, for me, the MBA was my bucket list after founding a company a few years back. I really wanted to supplement my life experience running that first company with what I can learn from, an MBA. So the next time I have my next company, which again is ARC, maybe it would have less road bumps. Now, I'm finding out now it doesn't really matter. You start a new company, it's always going to be a roller coaster. It's up and down. I mean, it's a little less bumpy for sure. But again, I think earning that MBA did help a little bit, and also the connections you get within the school was a big help. And I'm sure Brandon can also chime in on that as well. So yeah, bucket list and the connections. And again, it's just all cumulative. We're continual learners. So,
yeah, for me, I would say that entrepreneurship is really only 10 or 20% about the product and the technology, and the rest is really the business of technology. You have to look at it like a business. And coming out of an engineering degree, I really understood the technology, but I didn't necessarily understand all of the aspects of the business. So you like Warren Buffett. One of my inspirations is Ray Dalio. He has quite a few great books out there. But if you think about a business like a machine, you need to build the parts and fix and improve the pieces that are broken. And in order to understand how to do that, right now I'm thinking like an engineer, right? Machines. In order to do that, though, you need to understand not only what each piece does, but how each piece affects the rest of the system. So for a CEO or for a CFO, right, that means that you have to understand your technology, but you also have to understand the finance, the legal, the human capital, and then most importantly, the sales and marketing side. How do you tell your story in a way that connects with people, that's authentic, but it's also urgent? And telling a story that resonates with people, I think, is one of the greatest lessons that all of us are going to learn out of this. But it certainly comes down to, do you understand your business? And I think that the greatest gift that I could give to myself in terms of an investment was the MBA program.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think you're really preaching to the choir here. I know Ben and I, we're kind of podcasters, editors, social media, reaching out to people, you kind of do it all. And I think you guys and us are in very similar situation. I think you guys are a little bit further ahead than us, that you have customers, but we're working to get there and build out our base. But yeah, that's just something I wanted to add to that. I know, Ben, do you have a question to ask now?
No, well, I will, but even the MBA is something I definitely want to invest in for myself. I think I just need a couple more years under my belt and a smaller, I guess, comma base in my student loan account. So, yeah, I think it's hypercritical to have this holistic, really understanding of not only the business, but I guess of people and of your product, of the problem. And to be an engineer or really any other sort of like cross-disciplinary background, jump into the MBA if the plan is to run a business, understanding more than just your typecast role. Like if you went to business school and then you got your MBA, maybe you got a PhD in economics, that's all you know. So understanding like where you connected with HR, where do you understand how your product even works if all you did was capital allocate to software engineers? Maybe not. So sort of getting your hands dirty and understanding every aspect of the business, I think is super critical. So you guys are really, founder operators. And I think you guys are going to run a fantastic business.
Yeah, and I just wanted to piece this together too. Steve Jobs has a great quote, and I'm probably paraphrasing, but it's something to the effect of, it's much easier to connect the dots looking backwards than it is forwards. And so there's this balance that you have to find as a founder to say yes, but also to know when to say no. But when you are saying yes, you're opening doors to things that may lead to places that you never expected to go. And so, in 2018, when I decided to go and start that MBA process, I would have never realized the value that it would have brought to me, through this process. So we continue to find that those relationships and those early stage investments in people and, of our time, they continue to pay off in ways that we could have never expected.
Yeah, I know we keep giving like parallels and analogs to things, but thinking about Peter Lynch, his portfolio when he was running the Fidelity Magellan Fund, they had several thousand picks in that investment fund, and it outperformed. I think it was one of the best performing mutual funds in history. And the reason why it was not that they were just following every single company and waiting for specific news. It was every time they found a compelling opportunity or an innovative product, they invested in it. And I feel like that's something that's the way that I live, and maybe it's ADD, but when I always like to push myself, do more, get uncomfortable, you can always apply Occam's razor and do less later. But if you pass up an opportunity, you may never get it back. And I know some folks really like to, saying no is the most important decision. I feel like I'm a contrarian to that. I like to do everything that I can until I'm like distinctly uncomfortable, and you can always back off. And that's a reasonable thing, knowing your limits, but I think it's good to push the boundaries. You never know what you might find.
Yeah, and something that you guys probably didn't know about me before now, but I'm actually really interested in on the angel investing side of things. And one of the things that I see in all of the successful angel investors that I've met over the past few years has really been that each of them has a thesis for investing. So they have a kind of a guidelines or a model by which to operate. And also they're not focused on finding the next Facebook. They're focused on building a qualified, de-risked, diverse portfolio. So they're looking to basically place small bets in 20 companies or more. And with that diverse portfolio, they have a lot of opportunities there, but they're also basically ensuring or further de-risking their ability to make a significant return.
Yeah. Going back to Dalio, he always talks about asymmetric risk. And I know he was when he was building out Bridgewater Associates, he's kind of at the tail end of his career and like looking to pass the reins off. But he always talked about trying to look for asymmetric risk. And I think his ideal thing was like 13 assets that are uncorrelated. So if there's a housing market crash, you can have stocks or bonds or other things to hedge against those things. And that's how he really built Bridgewater, which is also, one of the best hedge funds to ever exist.
Yeah, thinking I guess from the eyes of an angel investor, I'll play that role right now. I'd love to hear, from any of you guys, all three of you, would be even better. But what are your, I guess, long-term aspirations for the company, down the road visions, even imagining the impossible. Where do you want to take this company at its end state? I would love to hear sort of like your hopes and dreams. It seems like you guys have already had some major successes, but I think it's always good to dream big. I'd love to hear that elevator pitch about where you guys see the business.
Yeah, so ultimately, there are 60,000 municipal first response departments and 3 million first responders in the US. I do want to see ARC in that future make that real impact, reducing department response times, accelerating their informed decision making. So basically, keeping responders safer and saving lives. So that's our mission. Yeah.
I love that. I think it sums up pretty well.
Yeah, and I would say this is usually Sherman's line, but we founded ARC to improve public safety by empowering first responders with technology. And like I mentioned, our platform puts them on scene digitally before they arrive with the information that they need to get to you, the caller, in time. And I don't know if you guys realize this, but according to the National Emergency Number Association, every adult in America is going to dial 911 at least once this year. And they have for every year in the past 40 years.
Wow.
And fire calls over the past 40 years specifically, I know that the number has increased 400%. So this is a one of the unique problems felt by every adult in America, and it's been our passion and our mission to help be a part of the solution for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and Sherman, interrupt me if you wanted to say anything. But thinking about just the inefficiencies, even though everything's happening so fast, there's a lot of touch points in an emergency response. Like you've got to dial. So someone's dialing 911. They talk to someone on the phone. The dispatcher has to go call the various departments. They have to give the information. They might have to call someone else to dispatch one of their units. I mean, there's just so many touch points. So to sort of have this one-to-one immediate information flow that you guys would be providing with machine learning and just really just leveraging technology, mitigating that to those touch points in a physical world, I think will absolutely save lives. I can't see how it won't, even in a primitive state, but it seems like you guys are already doing sort of a much more advanced product there. So I'm excited to see what you guys do. Hopefully I won't have to see an ARC drone come to me at any point soon.
Yeah, and it's a good point that you mentioned. So one of the things in our future product pipeline, we see technology as an ecosystem, not as a single company. And a lot of these departments are investing. Speaking of investing, they're investing in technology. And one company is not going to be able to be all things to all people, and we recognize that. So one of the things that the ARC platform does that's unique to the rest of the market is we can actually take a lot of that existing investment in technology. For example, your drone with a thermal camera on it, your wearable smartwatch that can sense your heart rate, your wearable body camera that can send a video back to a command post. We can tie in to all of those different data sets, and we're not only transmitting those in live real time to a distributed network of first responders making decisions during the incident, but we're also cataloging that over time in order to be recalled later and played back like a movie. So you can actually see your assets respond to the scene. And that's not only an after action reporting value proposition, that's a training tool. And so part of this platform is being more prepared before that 911 call comes in, helping during the 911 call, and then really looking at a holistic view of what went well, what went wrong, why, and how can we improve that moving forward.
That's great. Yeah, I think we're probably going to get wrapping up soon just to be sensitive of your time. But it is pretty incredible to think about the amount of data that's out there. But data is only as valuable as you can use it. So I think even just to think about the integration of data sets, like what you guys are doing, just trying to like clean up these data flows into an interpretable asset for first responders. I think of almost like the Dark Knight Rises with the Joker when Batman's looking at the screens. There's just so much information out there to just have more intelligence around data. We have so much information, but it's meaningless if you can't understand it.
Yeah, and decision fatigue is a real problem felt by first responders. I mean, imagine as the chief of a department, managing 3 different radio systems to talk to your different departments, talking to your guys while driving to the scene, trying to think of, okay, what needs to happen first, going through checklists, and then having 6 different apps to try to do what Arc can do. So like I said, decision fatigue is our biggest enemy. And I think we have a really unique way to address it by presenting the first responders with the catered information that's most pertinent to them at that time.
That's great. And it's almost too much responsibility on a single person to bear that burden to be able to do it all at once. I think these folks should just be able to do their jobs well. I guess one question I have is any interest in potentially expanding internationally at any given moment? I mean, national emergencies with climate change and what have you. I mean, there's always, nature is pretty powerful. So I'm sure a lot of every country could benefit from this product. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. It's always a question of how much resources you have. So, we would love to, speak with anybody who's interested in partnering with us, any angel investors out there. We'd be happy to have a conversation. Right now, we're laser focused on the 60,000 prospects that we have in the U.S., specifically the 30,000 fire departments. And like we said, the 3 million first responders. So the market is plenty big in the U.S., and that's just the public safety market. We're looking into submitting SBIR grants to work with the United States Air Force to help bring this to military bases. We're also looking into the 1,500 medium to large size commercial air travel hubs in the U.S. But all of this technology could be translated to international applications. And I have to be careful about what I'm saying, but we have spoken with one of the largest airports in the world about our technology, and they find it very interesting.
That's fantastic. The TAM is clearly large, and it's not even just dollars in that total addressable market. It's, total lives saved. So TLS, I think that's a really exciting metric to be tracking for your company.
We'll have to give you some credit on the website for that acronym.
Use it, please. If I have one good idea this year, that's pretty good. So I'll take it. Chris, anything you want to ask before we start maybe the wrap up process? I know we're getting close to time. I want to give a buffer here.
Yeah, no, I think I'm good on my end if we want to start the wrap up.
Yeah. So did you guys have any last points? I mean, the floor is also still yours.
Hey, I'll just point everybody to, if you search into Google FAA Challenge, you'll find Arc as one of the 3 national finalists selected by the FAA and the National Institute of Aerospace. We're competing in June for a $25,000 grant. I know that's a small amount of money, but it's really more about the partnership of the FAA, the recognition, and also us being able to showcase our technology on a national scale. So we're all excited about that. If anybody wants to give us some energy for that, we could definitely use it. We're going up against Embry-Riddle, but there's blood in the water.
That's good.
That's exciting. I hope you guys win the 25K and then some. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, we're pumped up.
That's great. So one question I always like to ask our guests is, what is the biggest investment mistake you've ever asked? But I think because we're talking about, a business that you guys are investing in for yourselves, I'd love to hear maybe the biggest, or I guess the biggest mistake when you guys started up this company, and maybe it's not something that was, diabolical, but maybe something that was an obstacle that didn't need to be there. And looking back, you're like, how did we do this? I'd love to hear maybe one of those biggest roadblocks or mistakes that was a major lesson learned for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's just making a lot of mistakes early. I know it sounds very cliche. I'm sure you hear that a lot from other founders. Again, when we started, we had like this grand dream and kind of just rolled with it, thinking that, okay, this is the plan. Nothing's going to change. You're not going to have to deviate from it. But again, I think running as many things as possible, letting it go through its course, and then see what mistakes you make, and then just doing that, ad nauseum. I think that's probably one of the best pieces of advice I would give any founder. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Learn from them as fast as you can. Iterate. So I think for us, that was a quick wake up call.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that, John. And I would just add in, I think one of the things that we're always trying to be better about is capturing value So as an early stage company, you really don't have the ability to, a lot of people talk about like dollar cost averaging or decision cost averaging. We don't have the ability to put 10 projects out there and see which one hits. We've got to hit it on the first shot or on the second shot. And we were lucky in that, we were in a good place. We had Sherman's guidance and understanding of the market. But I think one of the things that we're always trying to be better about is talking to the market, getting the pulse and the dynamic of where things are moving. How can we play nicely with the existing companies and technologies out there? And I think it's something that every first-time founder is going to learn. Besides sales, it's getting out there and just having conversations, not reading articles, but literally talking to people outside your echo chamber. I think that's so essential.
Definitely. All right. So my question that I always ask, what's your favorite book, podcast, YouTube channel, website, whatever it may be? I said for normally investing, but investing or business in general, because you guys are a new startup.
Yeah, for me, you guys know Morning Brew? I read that every morning. Yeah.
Yeah, we love them.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so that's for me. I wake up in the morning. First thing I look on my phone is that. I don't check emails. I don't check my texts. It's that first. That way, I get my finger on the pulse of all things financial, and I don't need to spend an hour on different other news outlets to figure out what's going on. So for me, Morning Brew.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I'll go one layer. I mean, the obvious is everybody's going to have their YouTube or favorite podcast. For me, I'll just emphasize, I think the best information you're going to get about something isn't going to come from a YouTube channel. It's going to come from conversations like this. So my favorite place for business information is genuine conversations with somebody outside my echo chamber. And a good resource for that, I would check out Venture Cafe Philadelphia. Every Thursday evening, you can join from a computer wherever you are and meet amazing, incredible individuals all working on stuff just as cool as Arc, but maybe a little bit different. And, they're always welcoming to new guests. So check out Venture Cafe Philadelphia. It's a program funded in part and organized by the University City Science Center of Philadelphia. Here's a shout out, one of our favorite investors. So thank you guys. And, hopefully they get some traction there, but feel free to check them out.
Definitely. Anything else? Ben, you want to close this out now?
No, I just want to give the floor. Sherman, did you want to plug anything that you like to use for information flows?
So I'm not a big business person. I'm more of a technical person, but I do like to read, and I like to. I have a lot of different technical YouTube channels that I watch, but nothing specific.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you, Sherman. Yeah, guys, Brandon, Jonathan, and Sherman, thank you so much, guys, for coming on the show. It's a rare opportunity to really talk to founders at the earliest stage, and you guys are already getting the ball rolling and finding customers. So I'm excited to follow along with your successes in the coming years. So for folks who want to learn a little bit more about you guys or about the company, where should they go to find out more? Your website, social media, whatever you think is best.
Absolutely. If you know, to your listeners, if you know any first responders that'd be interested in having a conversation, please reach out to us via email. That's hello@arcaeronautics.com, hello@arcaeronautics.com, or you can find us on our website at arkeaeronautics.com. That's arkeaeronautics.com.
We'll make sure to include that in the show notes. Thanks, guys, once again for coming on. It's a pleasure meeting you guys. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Smash the like button on YouTube, write a review on the podcast, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you know it. You can find us even on our website as well. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
See you next week.